Because if we want to talk about somebody who is making light work out of his opponents, man, and doing the same thing basically in back-to-back fights, I think we could say that about Julian Marquez in his performance against Sam Alvey. He wins the fight, second round, rear naked choke, right? And it was rough to see, man. First, before we talk about Marquez, I have to say this, man. I hope Sam Alvey, I hope he could gracefully just kind of call it quits at this point, right? You know what I mean? He's lost 5 out of his last 6 fights, right? Because one of them was a draw. So it's like, he's kind of in this no man's land. He said he was fighting for his job. You just got submitted. You got put to sleep. So you're a warrior. I respect you. But excuse me, it might be time to call it quits. Give me your thoughts, AJ.
I think you said it best, Derek. You're a warrior, Sam Alvey. I gotta respect the sleep before you tap, but my man, it's hard, man. I'd rather not see you go to sleep, So yeah, I like you said, a warrior, but I definitely feel like it's that kind of time for Sam Alvey because I would say, rebrand yourself in a new weight division, but he went from 185 to 170. Or it was either 205 to 185. I forgot which. He stepped down.
205 to 185.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's like the one thing. I don't see him going back up. I don't see him rebranding going back up. So man, I would personally. I'm a big Sam Alvey fan, and he's been a banger for a long time. But it'd be respectable way to see him go out, man, instead of keep getting put to sleep like that.
Yeah, I agree. And we can say that Julian Marquez, man, like I said, going back to the well, he notches back-to-back submission victories, and he also notches back-to-back performance bonuses, man. So this dude has got seen a lot of money in these last couple months, you know what I'm saying? And I honestly believe that this was very impressive by Julian Marquez, but I also saw a couple things that worried me a little bit in Marquez, that he's looking to stand there and just bombs away, right? And while that's like cool and that worked against Alvey, a couple of inches were the difference. A couple of inches would have made a complete difference, and we would be talking about Sam Alvey knocking out Julian Marquez. There was something that Marquez got hit with that just took his legs out from underneath him, man. It was so weird because it looked like nothing had happened, and next thing you know, this dude's just hurt, just like, oh. And then the round ended, so it's like Saved by the Bell, kind of, right? But let me just ask you before we talk about Julian Marquez, what would happen if Sam Alvey would have won by knockout? How impressed would we have been? How big of a win would that have been at this stage of his career? A dude who has damn near 50 fights in his MMA career.
When Sam Alvey hurt Julian Marquez, man, it had to have been was it the first? Yeah, it had to have been the first because he finished him in the second. But man, I was screaming because I didn't see it at all. Sam Alvey was doing that Tyron Woodley thing where you just let Marquez walk you down and he's gonna try to just blitz on you. But when he hurt him, and I can't remember what he hit him with, but bro, that was something I didn't see coming at all. I thought Julian Marquez was going to control the fight from watching. I thought he was going to control the fight and just put a pace on him. But when he hurt him, man, I was shouting, I was screaming. I thought this was the rise of Sam Alvey. But man, it would have been very impressive. I think it would have rose his stock a lot, especially with what Julian Marquez did to Maki Pitolo, coconut bombs in the last one. Man, it would have been a good win for him.
And then Marquez comes out and he says, all right, what's up, Kansas City Chiefs? Who wants it in a pickleball match? You know what I'm saying? Like, hey, dude's a savage. But, hey, I wanted to ask you about this. What did you think? Is it not a striker's, like a dream scenario to have your opponent just back against the cage the entire time, just kind of waiting for you? Because what the commentary team was saying is that, like, why Sam Alvey or Tyron Woodley would do that is because it's the straight line of attack, right? You know that your back is up against the wall, so all you have to do is go forward and you're right there. You can gauge out your timing and your distance, right? You could do range management kind of very well when your back is against the cage because it's that indicator, right? But if you're a striker, your opponent is barely moving. The only place you can move is your head, left or right like that. Everywhere else, you're standing right in front of me. What do you just think about that approach just in MMA? It worked for Tyron Woodley until it didn't. It did not work for Sam Alvey this time around, man. When can it work?
One of the biggest things that always teach me in striking, man, is if like a boulder's coming at you down a hill, you just get out of the way instead of I try to outrun it, Yeah. And then when Sam Alvey's just literally letting the boulder come at him, he's like, I'm going to attack it. Nice. It seems like the worst kind of situation because you're playing with a game of inches at that. And they were talking about in the broadcast how this is literally like the margin for error is so small that an inch one way or another, you're knocked out and you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
So like I would rather not play that game and I'd rather step to the side and like control the distance. And because when you're attacking and your opponent's back's on the fence, you're right. They only have one option to go. They have to attack you. You have that whole rest of the ring to bounce around on the outside and keep creating angles for that one attack pot. So it doesn't make sense to me unless you have that sniper that can just one touch drop everybody. It's a risky game you're playing.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe it might work out for those karate strikers because that's literally how you're taught. You're taught to attack in this straight line, right? But everything else, the kung fu's, most other martial arts, it's about circular movement and moving around, right? That's the whole thing about boxing. It's like when I see people just getting pieced up when Maheta Thiago Santos was able to just or Santos, excuse me, was able to just blitz you in front, and people would just walk back in a straight line. I'd be like, dude, if you sidestep, that's it, but hey, easier said than done. But nonetheless, impressive win for Julian Marquez. Like I said, back-to-back submission wins, back-to-back performance bonuses. Hopefully we see a fight of the night here soon, you know what I mean, because these are getting a little one-sided. But he could be like Dan Ige and say, don't disrespect me and try to put me in this fight of the night category, because it's not even going to be close, right? So gotta respect the man.